Right, let's do this. So it's time for the Great British Debate This Out. And I'm asking, should the Home Secretary set a deadline for reducing illegal migration? Yvette Cooper has refused to set herself a deadline to bring illegal migration down, despite admitting that the rate of illegal channel crossings is far too high. And after it was revealed that 35,000 migrants have crossed via small boats over the English Channel over this year. So for the Great British Debate This Out, I'm asking, should she set a deadline? Is she being realistic? So what do you think? gbnews.com/your say. Joining me now, broadcaster and journalist Danny Kelly, and also CEO of Youth Vote UK, Alexander Cairns. I'm going to start with you, Danny Kelly.
I think she would be foolish to set a deadline. I think politicians are reluctant to set deadlines for obvious reasons, because once you set a deadline, if you don't hit the damn thing, then it's going to come back and haunt you.
But what's the point then? You have to have some sort of ballpark as to where you're expecting to be within a certain time.
I think that's the impossibility of this whole, if you want to call it a crisis, the undocumented individuals coming over on small boats. Keir Starmer promised he was going to, what did he say? He gave the impression, smash the gangs. And I was hoping within the first 6 to 8 weeks we were going to see almost dawn raids of plod all around Europe and Britain, literally smashing in doors and dragging out these gangmasters.
You've been watching too much Prison Break.
Well, that's what I was hoping for. Yeah. I mean, it's the impossibility of it all. It's all run by the mafia. You know, if I always wondered why, if I was trying to get across to Dover and I had a family, I was always wondering why don't they just go and buy a dinghy themselves and get an outboard motor and save all of these thousands of pounds? And yes, there's a factor of money getting them from, say, Sudan over to France in the first place. That's because the beaches are run by the mob, OK? And you cannot get yourself a dinghy. You won't be able to buy yourself a dinghy and get over to Dover because you've got the mob.
I was thinking about you, the secret weapon, Danny boy.
It's
on the dinghy.
But yes, that's right. I doubt I would get over successfully. But it's the impossibility of it all. I really wish Keir Starmer had at least let a few planes take off to Rwanda just to see if it was a deterrent, because that's the great unknown. I think he was arrogant when he said it wouldn't work.
Well, of course.
How would he know?
Yeah, he wouldn't know, because you don't know whether it's going to work, and nothing else is working. What do you think?
I don't think it should set. I actually agree with Dan. I don't think it should set a target. I think David Cameron famously said we're going to get immigration, kind of net immigration, down to the tens of thousands. It's just not realistic, actually. Like, if you take away the problem that the country's got with small boats, actually the country does rely on migration. And actually, you look at the kind of root cause of the issue. We've seen what's happened in Syria. We've seen what's happened with the Middle East. The UK is partly to blame, right? So it's not as complicated as just saying, France should take them. Actually, we know that we've given France money. So actually, in fairness to Labour, they're trying a different route to this. The Rwanda plan did not work. No one can dispute that.
You don't know that it didn't work because hang on. Nobody had tried it.
No planes took off.
No planes had taken off. It hadn't started. You can't say something doesn't work if you haven't actually given it a go.
That's because it wasn't. The courts looked at it. Yeah, but the courts looked at it. It couldn't work.
No, it could have worked. You don't know that. You're saying that, but I think you can't say something doesn't work unless you've actually tried it.
No, but they tried it and it wasn't allowed.
They didn't try it.
Well, they did try it. They put it.
Did they? They put any opportunity of it, an attempt to it at the beginning. And actually, we had Patrick Christie going out talking to some of the migrants, and they were specifically saying that because of Rwanda, they were concerned. And they said that to him on camera. And people were diverting from the UK and going to Ireland instead because of the Rwanda plan. So that is a tiny snippet of it just working. And that was only at the beginning. So...
OK, well, look, the Rwanda plan has been scrapped now. I think actually the thing that they're trying to do, which I really think is good, is they're looking at the root cause. They're looking at some of those countries that need our support, looking at the camps where some of the asylum seekers, refugees go to. The UK, for a long time, has got its part to blame with the displacement of, lots of...
I'm so sick of this argument.
No, but that is the truth, Nana. Well, what do you mean? The UK has politically interfered. Look at Libya. Look what we did there, right?
Vietnam? Why are the migrants coming via boat from Vietnam? What have we done to the Vietnamese?
But
they're the largest cohort so far coming via boat. So from your logic, what have we done to
the largest cohort since when?
Since the last set of figures that there was most people coming from Vietnam. So a large portion of the people coming via boat were coming from Vietnam. What have we done to the Vietnamese?
Well, there's going to be. Well, I haven't seen those figures, so I'm going to have to go off what you're saying.
So what have we done to the Vietnamese?
No, but lots of countries, there's lots of complicated situations where people are fleeing for a whole range of reasons. migrants, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's parts of Eastern Europe, right? You know, the UK, it's not like the UK is taking the most number of refugees, by the way. Look at Germany, look at France, look at lots of countries, by the way.
I think that we have accepted the largest amount coming by small boat. I think there were some figures. I'll have to do a bit.
Well, we are the only country where they're coming by small boat.
Well, yeah, obviously because we're an island.
So,
yeah.
Well,
but
there is a point about geopolitical instability where conflicts that the UK and our Western allies have been involved in that have the aftermath, unfortunately, has produced instability. Now, that's a matter of fact. Now, you're right about the Vietnamese.
Well,
I don't know what the Vietnamese are fleeing. There's no conflict over.
Well, exactly. My point is, and we had the Albanians as well coming until we sorted that out.
Yeah.
So people are actually taking advantage of the situation. I have no problem if somebody is seriously fleeing conflict, but you can't keep going back so far. Oh, well, 100 years ago there was a conflict, so now we have to take all the people who come. No.
No, it's not 100 years ago. I think a significant portion of them are coming from the Middle East, where there's been political decisions that Tony Blair took, that various governments took, like Cameron with Libya. You know, we have got to understand that when you interfere with a country and displace the government, shock horror, there's going to be lots of people that flee that country because then there's instability, right? And also everyone gets, I really get annoyed about the migration conversation because everyone's acting like 70,000 small boats in 2 years, right? And they're saying that is the million figure. It's like a big portion of skilled migrants are given skilled visas, a lot are in higher education. So the idea that the country is being bombarded by millions and millions of people, it's just not true at all.
Well, okay, the migrants coming from, where do the most migrants come from? This is Albania, Afghanistan, yeah, we did interfere there.
Yeah.
But that's the point, is that a lot of them are coming from Albania. There was the Vietnamese all coming here as well. These are the ones via small boats. India. Poland.
Do you believe though that
Romania?
We're talking about? Are we talking about?
Interfered there?
We're talking about illegal now, are we?
Let's talk about the boats. Migrants mainly.
Do you believe that we need all of these tens of thousands of individuals coming over to help us as a country, coming over on the dinghies?
Okay, so on the specific point on the dinghies, absolutely. I think most people accept that we don't want to see that, right? I don't want people risking, their child's life in a dinghy overnight to get to the UK. The reason they're having to do that, Danny, is because there's no easy, safe and legal route for them to apply. The Home Office, under Conservative rule for a long time, had a big backlog. So because they're forced to pay criminal gangs to give them an access to the UK because they want a better life. They've probably got relatives here. And even if they don't, we can debate whether the UK is being too generous. But actually, I think most Brits want there to be a generous situation. Yes, the numbers should come down because you don't want anyone fleeing a country coming over in a small boat. But I have compassion,
So you don't have compassion for the people so you have compassion for whom? The people smugglers? Because those are the people making money. This is like the new slave trade where people are coming over via small boat in a dangerous situation via this boat from France, the safety of France. Because I think they're not being harmed in France.
No, the French are not welcoming to them. They're treated absolutely poorly.
No, that's not.
And also, I don't have any sympathy for the criminal gangs. I have sympathy for the people.
But in effect, you're indirectly supporting them by wanting to be soft on people coming via small boats.
I don't want to be soft on it. I want people to have a legal way to apply. And look, if they apply and the Home Office rejects that application, then everyone on the left would be comfortable with that. But at the moment, if they apply, it takes a year. So what if they're fleeing persecution or they're in a difficult situation, they're not going to wait around, are they?
A lot of them have turned out to be lying, though, isn't it? A lot of them are saying that they're fleeing religious persecution and then they deliberately change their religion so they can stay. So there
is a lot of coaching that goes on.
And we also know that there's a lot of scamming via some of the lawyers and things who are giving them all the right things to say so that they can stay. You have to admit,
I believe a lot of them are coached. I don't have the numbers and I wouldn't like to speculate whether it's the majority or the minority, but we can all as a panel agree that we would want them to be stopping this perilous journey. I remember once, getting my car washed in Birmingham city centre, and I struck up the conversation with the lad, and he turned out that he was an Iraqi kid, fabulous guy, spoke perfect English, and he'd been in the country a long time, and I asked him about how long he'd been in the country, and he fled because of Saddam Hussein. Now, I then said, so I always get confused between Sunni and Shia, but whichever Saddam Hussein was, so I said, so you are Shia, and forgive, maybe it's the other way around, because he was persecuting one religion, one sect of the, and he goes, no, that religion. And I thought to myself, so why are you fleeing? And I could only conclude that he had taken advantage of the situation to come over to the UK for a better life. And that's all I could conclude, because he wasn't being persecuted, because he was the right side of that Islamic
But people coming over for a better life, you don't think you're entitled to do that?
Well, you can,
but legally,
there are
though,
ways of doing it.
But I think he took advantage.
Called a visa. You get a visa and you do it properly. Otherwise, it's so unfair for them.
My point is
they can't do it properly. That's why they're going through this route, right?
No, you said people coming here for a better life. Well,
yeah.
If you want a better life, there are rules. You can't just go, oh, I want a better life, I'm going to just get on a dinghy and go off there.
But if people,
that's not fair for the people who are actually fleeing real persecution.
Yeah,
You're an economic migrant. That's not on.
But a portion of them are economic migrants.
Large portion of them.
Well, we can dispute that. I don't think that's true, actually. I think a vast majority are fleeing countries where they don't have a very good quality of life at all. There's been war, there's been instability. They're living in relative poverty, Nana, you know?
Listen, I get that there are awful situations going on around the world, but getting on a small dinghy from the safety of France to come to the UK, I think, and risking your life and limb doesn't sound right to me.
I'd love to know the actual balance of people who are trying it on, economic migrants and people who are genuinely...
Well, they're not going to tell you that. No,
I know. It's the unknown of it, you know. I'd just love to know what the true balance was.